very excited to welcome Jared McCain to the team. Um, thrilled that we were able to have a pick to get a player of this quality. I want to thank our staff who's been here for pretty much all week without sleep, and now working on the second round upstairs with Elton Brand. Jared's he's just been a winner everywhere. He's going to be someone Philly loves. Pretty rare to get a combination of both a guy who's got some skills that will get him on the floor earlier, including shooting, but also with a lot of upside and on a very steep improvement curve, even at his time at Duke defensively, which I think was one of the questions coming out of high school, where he was top player in California, winner at every level. As everyone says, we were pretty surprised he was there, and we're looking at a lot of scenarios with trade out, trade back, and they all sort of went away when Jared made it. There was a couple key picks in there in the early teens that we needed to go our way or not pick Jared for us to be thrilled with the draft. I'm going to generally focus on the draft tonight, if that's okay. I know folks have other questions, but hoping to make this about his night. And then we have the second round tomorrow. So pretty fun, pretty exciting night. So sorry it's so late, though.
We'll start with questions. We'll go with Gina.
You just alluded to it, but you mentioned at your end of the season press conference that all options were on the table as far as going into tonight. So yeah, just how did you sort of go about evaluating all of those options and then ultimately deciding, okay, if Jared is there, we're going to take him?
Yeah, the exact question we face on the clock. There was a player offered to us that was pretty interesting. We'd move back a bunch of slots. There was a move back pretty far, but pick up a future, so quite a few sort of second round picks and things like that. But we had McCain as a top 10 player in this draft, and someone who we've got a lot of roster opportunity. So if you can get a player who is hopefully rotation ready at a very young age. I don't want to put pressure on him, but we think he's got that. He's got the improvement curve. He's got the approach. He's obviously got a skill that the coach will turn around on the bench and say, "Hey, I need that skill." He can really, really punish people in transition, really rebound. He's pretty special for a guy to get sort of in the middle of the first round. And, I don't want to put any tough expectations on him, but, we really think this guy's going to be a 76er for a very long time, like some of our recent draft picks.
You said you had a player that was offered to you. Coming into this draft, was that the focus? Because that player will ensure that he's ready to play now over a draft that could be a gamble, so to speak.
Yeah, we liked some of the concepts where we move back a little bit and pick up a guy who might be a little bit closer to ready to play. But, really the value on McCain was just too high for us. So, we stuck in that it's a player we might be able to acquire later potentially. But yeah, no, it was, again, all options were on the table, like you said. There were some advantages to that. And we were really sweating the pick right before us, actually. So, there's a couple picks in there. We needed two spoilers starting at around 12 or 13 to go our way for him to still be there. So
he's a tough player, and he's a very good shooter. But is there a little bit of concern with having a small backcourt with him and Maxey together? Yeah,
I think that's a valid concern. Obviously, your backcourt. In a perfect world, you'd have taller, but I think you have to compensate that with strength. He's got like a strong frame, very strong, good rebounder. We think he'll be a solid defender in the league over time. He started off at Duke. He was being targeted at Duke, and as the season went on, he became someone that was actually one of their better defenders. So, he's got the attitude that Coach Nurse likes to bring, which is just get a little bit better every day. He's got 95th percentile approach to the game, teammate, work ethic. We've had some good luck with taking the kids with a real base of potential and a strong work ethic, and we were really happy. I think he's I'm excited for Philadelphia to get to know him.
Let's go to Kai the Paul.
Daryl, I think you said at the regular season presser you wanted to maybe go after a wing player. There were a couple of wings there at 16. Was there any ever thought of maybe going with the wing player there, or was it always just kind of Jared would be most available?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty best player available. I think, perfect world. I think, again, I get people sometimes get on me when I say this, but it's true. Like, we're always trying to map forward to the team, at the start of the season or into the season and how it might map forward. And we're not really looking at the roster right now. There's so many opportunities, so many permutations of what can happen that, almost never when someone looks back at a draft and they go, well, how'd that guy go ahead of that guy? Oh, they had this guy. And so they had a wing in front of them. That just never happens. What always happens is like, why didn't they take that guy? That was pretty obvious. He was the best guy. So we just go with the best guy. Yeah, I know it's cliche, but it's also true. Yeah.
Paul and Amy.
Daryl, you mentioned that during the season press conference you weren't looking for like a plug-and-play player. Obviously, like you just mentioned, you're going to look for the best player available. But with some of the intangibles you mentioned, his maturity, his poise, and the skill he brings, do you think he's a guy that could find his way onto the court as a rookie?
I think so. I think it's a big bar. I think it's tough. Obviously, we're planning to be, the best team in the East next year and be right there with Boston and the other competitors. So it's a high bar. I think most likely it's someone who's, generally when you're in the 10 to 20 range, it's someone who's not starting in the year at the rotation, but you hope, by the end of the year, if they're contributing, then you're in a really good spot as they show their work ethic. And I frankly sort of checked every box, and that's why we're so high on him, in that he not only is someone who has a skill and the work ethic to get out there on the floor and also playing in high-level games, McDonald's. He's been like a top 10 to 15 guy in the country in his class the whole way across. And so he's a combination of a guy who we think you could get out a little quicker, and at the same time, a lot of upside given he's very young and has a great work ethic.
Amy, then Austin.
Now, when you look at his shooting, and the shooting numbers are really good, and you say you guys value him as a top 10, is that one of the first things that kind of check the box for you, or is it everything you've given his rebounding, the high motor he has, and the high IQ he seems to play with?
Yeah, all else equal, we really value shooting given the rest of our roster, especially Joel. We just think Joel's unguardable when he has shooting around him. Doesn't mean we don't put tough-nosed guys out there that maybe that's their, but it's never an easy thing. But look, I mean, if early on, obviously, Jared's not going to be playing with Maxey a whole lot. I mean, it's just hard for a rookie, but that elite shooting from two guys out on the floor is pretty hard to guard, and both of them make it really tough on it if you try to guard them tight. I don't have to sell Tyrese Maxey, but Jared can attack a closeout and make a play.
Austin and Zach.
Daryl, Jared mentioned that he hadn't talked to the Sixers directly leading up to the draft. What kind of goes into your calculus as an organization in determining to draft someone that we haven't really talked to, but maybe don't have direct intel?
Yeah, we really try to. Sorry, it's my phone. Sorry, guys. Sell. No. We try to mostly be like a black box for the other teams. There's a lot of gamesmanship that goes on if teams know where you're heading. I was really disappointed. A lot of people were mocking him to us, so that was bothersome. I like to be a black box. I think it creates trade optionality. So tend to do all our evaluation during the season, during like the period where everyone else does it.
Zach, the note.
Daryl, you talked about how Jared progressed during the season in college, and at Duke, he played in an offense that was focused a lot on a big man. How do you think that will help him transition, also his performance in the tournament, help him transition to working alongside Joel Embiid?
Yeah, and he's obviously scored 30 points in 2 of the key tournament games for Duke. Big game player. Has, as you point out, played with a top big man. Yeah, I mean, we just see a guy who, look, so it's asking a lot for a young player and a rookie to play on a team, we're looking to be, top few in the East. But he has that possibility, which is we have more roster opportunity than you might usually have in our situation. And then that wasn't the focus that we wanted. We really wanted someone with upside too. So we just sort of got both. So I mean, I know I've said it, but we couldn't be more thrilled that, so this sort of combination of character, a little bit more ready to play, a skill that helps you be ready to play early, and then also a lot of upside and a work ethic.
Noah, then David.
Daryl, you mentioned Nick, this being the type of player that he would like, just attitude-wise. This is your first draft with him. What sort of input has he had in this process, and how much are you thinking about players that could specifically do well under him?
I mean, besides being a great coach, I love that Nick's a great partner. Just like I'm not out there, I leave Nick to draw the plays, So he comes in, he's here as much as we are, but at the same time, he knows with our scouts, and shout out to Prosper and everyone on the scouting staff who put all the timeless hours in. He knows they put timeless hours in, just like his coaching stuff does. So, he's if anything, he's putting little nudges here and there, like, hey, can we look at him a little more? That kind of thing. But mostly, we know how much work goes in and leave things to each other.
2 more, David Murphy, then Gina.
Obviously, there's a certain level of offense that kind of offsets whatever defensive limitations or size limitations you have. You can think of several examples of guys of his size who are simply elite scorers that have to be on the court.
Yep.
Obviously not naming any names to compare him to, but do you view him as, a guy who can kind of shoot down the road, kind of high volume threes off the dribble and, kind of make that kind of impact on a court?
Yeah, and he's already doing it. He's already putting up a high volume of threes, and being able to shoot threes at a high volume and, be in the high 30s, low 40s, is like maybe the most valuable skill in the NBA. It's on the list of the top few. So that's big part of the calculus with Jared. 100%, absolutely.
You mentioned you and Elton already starting the second round prep. Obviously, changed with draft splitting into 2 days. Do you like that, first of all? And then now that you sort of have crossed this threshold of the offseason, how then do you see that informing the rest of what you guys do?
Yeah, I don't think the draft's going to inform what we do in free agency very much. So that's pretty much how I do it and we do it. But yeah, it would be a quicker turnaround than normal. I love the second day. I think it's amazing that in the past, there'd be literally hundreds of millions of dollars of decisions made, back to back and with 2 minutes on the clock. I mean, it's a much better process for the league, and I think it was a great change.
Thanks, Daryl.
Thanks. Yep, appreciate it.
What is your shoot set?
Oh, it's 2:07. The 70th point.
Oh.
My daughter gave it to me.